I truly didn't know if I was going to wake up in the morning when I was really sick. And frankly, I didn't want to. I was at a point where I didn't want to wake up.
Welcome to the Controlled Health Podcast, where we discuss topics on whole body wellness so that you can take back control of your health.
Hello, my name is Andrea and I'm your host of the Controlled Health Podcast. If you have not been here before, I like to just say that this podcast is for entertainment and educational purposes only, and if you choose to implement anything spoken about in this show, that you would please seek a healthcare professional. Now, today is just me. I'm going to try and make more videos of just educational topics. No excuse, life's just been busy and I'm trying to finish up my school, and I've been taking on some extra work and doing some things outside of work and school, so I just needed a break from a lot of things, but I'm ready to rock and roll. As I've mentioned before, I really love empowering people and educating people on how they can take back control of their health, and that is my passion and mission, is to educate people so that they are able to do that. But today's episode, I'm actually just gonna kind of focus on my health and, more importantly, my faith. I'm gonna zone in more about the last 3 years of what I've been through and what I've been experiencing. It's really hard to condense all of this into something small, so I'll talk a little bit about kind of what I went through as a child, but I'm gonna really just focus on what has happened in the past 3 years and kind of what I'm doing to navigate through that, and as well as what I'm gonna be doing soon. I'm gonna start doing some other things to see if it'll help me, because I am I feel like I'm stuck in a spot right now. But I'm gonna share my journey with you guys now and kind of what I'm gonna be doing in the future, and yeah, I'm excited. All right, so to get started, I grew up pretty middle class, not poor, but not really enough money to have everything that other people had. So I was really limited on the food that was being provided to me as a kid, and I also was not breastfed for a long time. So all of that in my childhood, I feel like, was a pretty rocky foundation for my health, and it kind of snowballed into what I'm trying to... Oh my gosh. This is apartment life for you guys. I don't know if you heard that. It sounded like somebody bouncing a ball down the stairs. Anyways, where was I? So I didn't have good quality nutrition as a kid, and my family really wasn't educated on that, and that was like in the late 90s, early 2000s, so the low fat fad was still going on. We ate a lot of margarine and fake foods and processed foods, Pop-Tarts and easy quick grab foods, and by the time I was about 11, I had been through some tough things in life. I had lost some family members, had to kind of move around a little bit. I also had a traumatic brain injury when I was 12, I think. No, I was younger than that. I can't remember. But I did have a really bad concussion, and that kind of like snowballed into everything else. I also was out in the woods a lot, riding horses, and probably had gotten bitten by a tick and maybe contracted Lyme disease around that time as well. That's when I started getting digestive issues, chronic fatigue, bloating, and all those things. I couldn't stay awake in class. That was about middle school. Fast forward, high school, things just progressively got worse. Digestive issues, hormonal issues, always fatigued, joint pain incredibly high, especially for, a kid. Shouldn't really have joint pain. And I never excelled in anything that I did physically. So that was really challenging for me, especially because I was so active. I got into some martial arts like Muay Thai and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. when I was about 17, and I always just seemed to kind of lag behind everybody else, and I never knew why. Fast forward, I was 23. Yes, maybe I was turning 23. I was still 22. Anyways, August of 2021, I had contracted COVID, and I recovered completely fine. I had lost some weight, was pretty fatigued, but about a month after, I ended up getting, I thought they were panic attacks, which I was getting those symptoms prior to contracting COVID. I would have to really calm down. It was usually after I had eaten something, and I did not correlate anything besides maybe it was something I was eating, like oats would trigger it for me, stuff like that. Caffeine, obviously. And so I ended up, my friend had to take me to the emergency room. I could not control my bowels, and I couldn't stand up like without getting dizzy and feeling I was going to pass out. I ended up going to the emergency room. They checked, for blood clots and all those things. Up just saying I had hypostatic orthotension, which means like when you stand up, all of your vitals, like your blood pressure and your heart rate, either drop or rise or something along those lines. Well, hypo means it drops, so it would drop. I was hypokalemic, so I was really, really low in potassium. They told me to go see a cardiologist. So we scheduled an appointment to a cardiologist. Now, let me say, by this time, I had already studied holistic nutrition, and I was practicing, not at that time, but I had practiced for about 2 years prior to this. So I was very holistic mindset already. So they were trying to give me like beta blockers and anxiety medication, and I had rejected all of it because I just was like, no, I'm going to get to the bottom of this. I'm not just going to take a medication to cover up my symptoms. So I ended up going to a cardiologist. This is when I was still living in Florida, and I had told her like everything that was going on, and she was like, well, it sounds like you have POTS, which stands for postural orthostatic tachycardia syndrome. And I'd never heard of it before, and so I started digging deep. I found correlations between contracting viruses and developing POTS, having traumatic brain injuries and developing POTS, any type of trauma to the nervous system, you can develop POTS. Even like Lyme disease and mold can contribute to POTS as well. And so I was like, okay, I don't think it is just the virus that caused this. I think it may have been an accumulation of things over time, and that was like the last straw. My body could not handle it anymore because I was not supporting it correctly. My body, I'm pretty sure I probably have some gene mutations with the methylation pathways because I was estrogen dominant and all of those things. So by that time, I was pretty much bedridden. I couldn't work. I was working 2 jobs at the time. I was a waitress at 2 restaurants. I could no longer do that. I couldn't go to church. I couldn't drive. I was in school at the time, and I ended up failing out of my classes. I was really, really desperate for an answer. And like I said, I had lost everything except one thing. And that was my relationship with the Lord. And going through that, losing everything, I really found how important it was to keep God and my relationship with Jesus the center of everything in my life, because everything can be taken away from us in a blink of an eye, even our health. Sorry. The darkest parts of when I was sick, I had a lot of psychological symptoms, hearing things, seeing things, so many neurological issues. I lost a lot of my motor skills, and I was having a hard time eating as well. So I had lost a good amount of weight, probably mostly muscle, and I just remember I would lock myself in my room and just read the Bible. I started seeing a counselor at that time, a Christian counselor, which really helped me walk through some of these things. But for the most part, I really had to cling to the Lord. I mean, to the point where I was begging my mom to take me to a psych ward because I'm like, I don't know, maybe it is all in my head. Because I was going to doctors and they were telling me there was nothing wrong with me. And I just remember breaking, and I said, Lord, like, I believe that you can heal me in an instant, but I don't think that that is your will for my life. And I'm okay with that. And I had to accept the card that was dealt to me. Now, that doesn't mean I gave up. That doesn't mean that I accepted my diagnoses or that I was going to be this way forever, but I accepted that in this moment and then in this season that I'm going to have to change my perspective and really trust and lean on the Lord for what I'm going to be enduring for probably a while. Looking back, and even today, like, I wouldn't trade that for the world, because through our trials and through our sufferings, we are drawn closer to the Lord because we see our frailty, we see our weaknesses, and we realize that we absolutely need a Savior. And through that, it was hard. I had a Christian community online, and I had people tell me that I was sick because I didn't believe, or I didn't have enough faith, or, all of those things that we kind of hear sometimes in the Christian community. And I just had to take a step back and really dive into scripture and look, like, is this biblical? Is this really what's happening? Am I not strong enough in my faith? I have to say that that's wrong. Our Lord and our Savior had suffered tremendously. So who are we to think that we're not going to suffer? Also, there are countless scriptures that say that we are constantly being transformed into the image of Christ. And through that is suffering. Like, we are going to suffer and be transformed into something better. It builds character. It builds hope. It makes us put our eyes on what really matters, on the kingdom, on heaven, on glorifying Jesus. I am just so grateful that I have been able to experience this side of heaven in such a way that I'm so much more looking forward to heaven, because I will not have this body that is prone to disease and death. And so, fast forward, I'd say I ended up looking into low histamine diets and talking with some people and finding out that I probably most likely had some Lyme disease, and then I found black mold in my home. And it was very overwhelming. Like I said, I couldn't work. I was living with my mother. I really felt stuck because I'm in this house that's making me even more sick, and I don't know what to do. I started just doing the basic foundational things that I knew how to do. I just wasn't doing them. Eating whole foods, reducing my stress, and getting outside, getting sunlight, making sure that I had a lot of good community around me, all those things, all those foundations. And I slowly started to get better. I was able to work a little bit and finish up school. But then it got to a point where I got sick again. I couldn't work anymore again. And I got to a point where I was at the health food store, and a man came up to me. We were chatting, and I was telling him about how I'm living in mold and all these things. And he looked me in the eye, and I will never forget this. And he goes, "You have to get out. You have to get out." A lot of people were telling me that, and I was just like, I can't. I was making excuses. And so, I dove myself back into the Word and clinging to the Lord. And I had asked a lot of people if they could house me, because I wasn't able to afford anything. So if they could let me stay in their house for a couple months so I could regain some health and strength. Unfortunately, nobody in my area was able to help me, which at the time was very heartbreaking. I didn't want to leave. I loved my community and my family, and I almost grew a little bitter because I felt very outcasted. I felt very alone. And then I had some great friends in North Carolina reach out to me and say, "Hey, we have a place for you to stay." And I remember reading, I think it was in 1 Kings. I can't remember, but the Lord had spoken to somebody and said that, "Go and I will provide for you food and water and all those things." And I said, "All right, Lord, I'm gonna go." So I packed up what I could that wasn't affected by the mold. So some clothes, some books, some stuff like that. I left. I picked up everything and I left. That was probably the hardest part of this journey, because not only did I just previously lose everything in my life, now I'm picking up what I have left, and I'm moving to a place where I don't know anyone, and I don't have a job, and I don't have anything materialistic, at least, but I have the Lord. And that's when I started to see real change in my health, was actually leaving the mold, getting treatment for the Lyme, and focusing on controlling my stress. And at that time, I was doing the carnivore diet, very strict carnivore. I was eating lamb and beef and salt, and that was it. So I'm trying to keep this as short and concise as possible, and I'm more than happy to answer any questions. So if you do have any questions, please leave them in the comment section, and I will make sure to get to them. So I ended up in North Carolina, where I am now, and within about 6 months, I had a job, and I was able to move out. And I started taking a certification program through the Nutrition Therapy Association, and I'm almost done with that. And my goal is to help people who have also suffered with chronic illness, even just general wellness, all that stuff is really my passion, to help people, like I said, take back control of their health. So I would say I'm probably like 80% better, 90% on good days. I am really flared up right now. And what a flare up looks like for me is joint pain. My POTS will flare up, so I get like lightheaded, dizzy. My bowel movements sometimes can get kind of screwy. And I also have a hard time doing anything that makes me exert energy. So like working out or being in the heat, anything like that, it makes me feel sick. So like at the end of the day, I almost feel like I have the flu. I think there's a term for this. It's called post-exertion malaise, or PEM. Not really sure the cause. I have some theories. I feel like it's either the mast cells that can cause like these histamine responses and cause you to have kind of like an allergic response, or my nervous system is just so jacked up it can't regulate things properly. So when I get stressed and stuff, everything just kind of is exacerbated. So I really have to minimize my stress. But where I'm at right now, and I want to be honest with all of you, because we see so much on the internet, oh, this cured this and that cured that, and like I was carnivore for 2 years, and I ended up adding carbohydrates back into my diet, and it helped for the POTS because I was able to hold on water. I was able to work out more. I definitely had more energy. I felt a lot better. And I've been slowly like moving my calories up, which has been nice. But I'm still having a lot of problems with my hormones. My progesterone's really low. My thyroid is not converting T3 properly. And so I'm kind of I'm very hypothyroid. And my estrogen is still pretty dominant, especially in the ratio to my progesterone. So I'm looking into a couple things. I did ozone therapy before. I'm going to do that again. I'm going to see if I can get some rounds going soon just to kind of clear out my system again. And then I'm going to look into, I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to say this. Anyways, I'm going to be looking into using some peptides. And then I'm going to try and do the more natural route for my thyroid and my progesterone. There's something called wild yam cream I'm going to try, and then I have already started a standard process thyroid extract. I'm going to talk to my provider that I see. He's an integrative doctor, and see kind of what he recommends. My B vitamins were also really low. I need to start taking like a methylated B vitamin, I feel like. But I do take glutathione, I take binders, and all those things. So that's kind of where I'm at today. I know I didn't dive too deep into the health. It was more about my faith, but I've been really discouraged these past couple weeks just because I feel like I've taken a couple steps back. I know the heat can really flare up my symptoms, so it could just be, a seasonal thing. But I obviously want to get to a point where that doesn't bother me. And I'm not sure if it's all stemming from really bad mitochondrial damage and dysfunction, which I believe the peptides will definitely help with. And also PEMF, I'm looking into that as well. So there are a couple of things that I think are going to benefit me, and I'm going to obviously share that with you guys. But as far as my diet's going, I'm still animal-based, lots of beef, lots of lamb and chicken, and then I do like fruits that I like cherries and dates, and then I have been adding sweet potatoes. I seem to do okay with those. And yeah, I do honey sometimes, maple syrup sometimes. I don't do too much though, maybe like 1 serving a day. But as far as that goes, I'm just trying to stick to a higher calorie diet right now, so I have the energy to do stuff and feel my best. So I am really looking forward to finally being done with school in September. We are doing case studies right now, so I've got a couple clients that I've been helping for free, as well as just kind of trying to navigate the tools that they're implementing us to use. But as far as that goes, I am just trying to chill and take a break really from everything. But my business will be launching probably in October. That's my goal, at least. And it is called Innergy Nutrition and Wellness. My practice is going to be helping people understand the foundations of health, as well as, like I said, helping people with chronic illness and other things like that, as well as just general wellness. I'm really looking forward to transitioning into that. Obviously, I have a full-time job and I have to keep a roof over my head and pay my bills, so that is definitely a priority as well. And I do enjoy my job. I really do. So it'll be quite the transition from there. But I really am grateful for these past 3 years and what I've learned. Even though I can get really discouraged sometimes. I know that the Lord's plans are better than I could even imagine, and I just want to give you all hope as well, especially if you're dealing with chronic illness, that there is hope. And we do need to take responsibility. We need to take responsibility of the things that we can control, our food, our environment, and most importantly, our stress. We have to lay that down. We have to give it to God and allow Him to renew our mind. That's a big part of dealing with chronic illness, is renewing our mind and renewing those neural pathways. Our brain is malleable and able to be rewired and transformed, and obviously with the Bible it says by the washing of the word, and I think that is really important to remember, especially when you are afraid and don't know what tomorrow will bring. Because I was there. I truly didn't know if I was going to wake up in the morning when I was really sick. And frankly, I didn't want to. I was at a point where I didn't want to wake up. I was so deep in a hole that I thought that I could not dig myself out. And I was right, I couldn't, but I leaned on the one who could, and that is God. I just pray that whoever is listening, that again, this would give you hope and that it would encourage you to just take that step in faith, whether it's a new diet, a new doctor, a new supplement, a new medication, whatever it is, just take that step and the Lord will direct you in the right path of where you need to go. Well, guys, thank you for listening. Again, this was more of like a testimony, faith story, not so much an educational video, but I will be back on board with those. I did not finish my 5-pillar health thing yet. The only one I have up right now is stress, and kind of like what stress is and how you can kind of manage that. So the next topic is definitely going to be diet and nutrient density specifically, and I will get that out to you as soon as I can. I'm not making any promises right now because of school and my health, but I will keep you updated as well as what I plan on doing with all the therapies going forward and kind of see where that goes. But other than that, if you have not liked, shared, or subscribed, please do. It would definitely help me, and I would really appreciate it more than you could ever know. And you can find me on Instagram at andrealee.b, as well as my new Instagram page is Innergy Nutrition. I'm going to try and start posting more on that, so it'll be ready to really be launched in October. So I'm super excited, and I cannot wait to see you guys in the next one.